Welcome back to the Humble Market Timer YouTube channel. Once again, if you enjoy the content, please like, comment, and subscribe. In today's video, I want to pose the question: are precious metals a destroyer of crypto? I actually believe in the short term it has been, but I do believe crypto will have its day at some point in 2025. Before I go any further, here's my disclaimer. Once again, these are my sole ideas, not investment advice. Now, crypto has been in a bit of a slump, particularly in the past probably month or two, and it has sort of accelerated in the past week. Here's a chart of Bitcoin. As you can see, we made all-time highs back in August, and it just really hasn't done much since then. And when you have sort of that lull in crypto, people start to question whether or not we're at the end of that big crypto cycle that we normally get in those post-halving years. And I don't believe that it's quite over yet, but we're so used to all the big gains in crypto, particularly in Bitcoin, it just kind of throws you off if you don't see those kind of gains that you normally see, that we've seen in the last 5 to 6 years of this really a whole crypto bull market. But really, precious metals have been the story all year when it comes to assets that we pay attention to. Here's a chart of the performance of many of those assets year to date. And as you can clearly see, the top performers by far have been precious metals. Leading the way is platinum. Silver is right there. Palladium is shortly below silver. Gold, we all know gold has been on fire all year. And way down here is Bitcoin. Now, it's saying Bitcoin is about 10% for the year to date. I think it's more like 15 to 17%. But you still get the gist of the idea of the chart. The top performers by far have been precious metals. And really in the last week, we have really seen outflows and a major drop in crypto. If you notice here on this article, you see US Bitcoin ETF posting $900 million of outflows in the past week. That's just under Bitcoin. You see here in this article, it talks about how Ethereum has seen its largest outflow week since its inception. So you can see money has been flowing out of crypto. And so you say, well, if money's flowing out of crypto, where is it going? And I believe based on the price action, we can see where it's going. Look at silver. Silver has been on fire really all year, but it is starting to hit that parabolic phase, particularly in the last week. You can see here, platinum again has really started to move back in about May, but it has really taken off once again in the past week. So as you have seen that extreme weakness in crypto, particularly in those top names, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, you can see money has been rushing in, and you've been seeing parabolic moves in precious metals, particularly silver and platinum. And I believe based on this, knowing how silver has had multiple tops at that $50 level, I believe silver will continue to get inflows until we hit that $50 level. I think once we hit that point, there may be a slight pullback because there's so much technical resistance that we've had. Silver's had its head bump up against 50 so many times and come back down. I think eventually by the end of the year it will break that. But I believe until we get to that 50 level in silver, I think you may see weakness in crypto. And then as silver and maybe some of those precious metals pull back, I think you'll start to see money flow back into crypto. As you can kind of see here, here's another chart that kind of shows how crypto has responded or corresponded with the move in some of the precious metals. Here's a chart of Bitcoin and silver. Bitcoin represents the blue, silver represents that yellow orangish line. As you can see, for the most part, they pretty much move together for this part of 2025. But in the last month, you can start to see silver has started to really skyrocket, and you can see Bitcoin started to tail off a little bit. And what this is famously called in technical analysis are the crocodile jaws. You can see that it looks like crocodile jaws are opening. And eventually when you get assets that tend to move together, generally speaking, but at some point have a break or a separation, eventually the jaws shut, and the jaws shut either by crypto catching up or precious metals pulling back some, or you see some combination of the two. Just kind of looking at the chart of Ethereum, as you can see, Ethereum has been also on that slide, much like in the Bitcoin chart. But I want you to notice some things. Look at this RSI. If you can see when the RSI has bottomed typically in that 20 to 30 range on the daily RSI, as you see here, that's where we have gotten a bottom. We bottomed here in that level. We got a nice move higher. We bottomed here again. We got a big move higher. And as you can see, we have recently hit that 30 to 29 level once again. So the way this is looking, we may have hit a bottom with Ethereum, and we may be on the process of having that next leg up higher. Also notice the trend line on the RSI. Typically, when you break the trend line, that's when you get the big move on the price action. And so I believe you can see we have the trend line break here. Look at the big move. I believe at some point, if we break this downward line on Ethereum, we will also get that big move and that next move higher in Ethereum. Looking at Solana, you can see also Solana has had a big fall. It had a big push recently with all the digital asset treasury companies buying in Solana. That caused the big move, but we had that two double topping tail M-top pattern that tends to yield downside immediately, and you get that oftentimes symmetrical move up also on the way down. But it looks like we have found support on this trend line. I believe if we continue to hold this trend line, we'll see that next move higher. Also, we recently had a big bounce off this significant drop. And if you notice, the price action in the next 2 days has been trending in the upper part of that big bounce bullish candle. And that implies that we may be in the process of having a bull flag formation occurs. It's still immature right now, but it is setting up like we are getting ready to have a nice bounce off this massive drop in Solana, 20%, about that 20 to 25% range, all in about a week time frame. Pretty big drop. But there are lots of tailwinds for crypto, so I don't believe crypto will be down for long. As you can see in this article, crypto ETFs are set to flood U.S. markets as regulatory streamline approvals. Right now, the only cryptocurrency with ETFs are Ethereum and Bitcoin, but once ETFs are set for some of these other notable altcoins like Solana, XRP, that will provide not only a boom to those individual altcoins, but also to crypto as a whole. You also have tailwinds from the likes of those digital asset treasury companies, also called DATs. You see Bitmine, which has a digital asset treasury for Ethereum. They have recently raised $365 million that they are waiting to deploy again to buy more Ethereum. I'm sure they are loving this drop, and they will be looking in the very near future to buy up as much Ethereum as they possibly can. You also have Helios, which has recently created a new Solana digital asset treasury company. They recently did a pipe and raise, and they are sitting on $335 million of cash, which they intend to use to also buy more Solana. So you have the tailwinds for crypto. I don't believe that crypto will be down long. This is sort of just a short-term pullback. Crypto has historically been weak in September, and it tends to really pump up towards the end of the year. Very famously known to have October when it comes to crypto. So keep an eye on crypto to not stay down long. I believe precious metals will at some point get a slight pullback, but I do not believe that move higher is over either. Hope you liked the video. If you like it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.